Listeners, good morning, listeners and viewers. A very warm welcome to you this morning on Spice FM, our weekly radio show business, right here, live and live. Yeah, is what it is. You're listening to Ammar without Jalf right now, but I'm hoping and wishful that he will come and join us. And I've got a great show lined up for you. Hopefully, we've also got our extra special guest, um, Mark Patton, the Director of Education at Newcastle City Council, a fantastic fellow who always provides such significant insights and advice and guidance, and does all he can to support our future generations. And I always thoroughly enjoy catching up with Mark wherever, whenever possible. What else is going on? Well, we're going to talk about news, views, and one or two clues. Happy Holi to everybody celebrating, and the Festival of Colour. And, one thing I can say about the Festival of Colour and Holi and South Asia, regardless of whichever country you're in, is it's a very colourful space, very colourful place. It's incredibly vibrant when it comes to colour. So it's great to hear and see and celebrate colour. And in fact, I think it would be remiss of me to not uh, share a bit more depth and detail on Holi and such like. But before we do that, let's get into the radio show. So Jaff will be joining hopefully soon, as well as Mark Patton, and I'll be talking you through what's gone on for the last couple of weeks, and certainly what we've got planned. Feels like a crazy week, and I know that we've said that many a times previously, but it definitely did feel like that. We're in the process of launching, filling our international trade centre at Newcastle Airport, Airview Park. It's a 10,000 square foot trade centre dedicated to helping regional high growth businesses grow global. So whether you're going to Saudi, Middle East, Asia, America, Europe, wherever you're going, the idea and the principle is you come there, you have a desk, you get a space, so you don't need to relocate your existing business, and you get all of the support you need, but you become part of a community. And I don't know how many people have traded, exported internationally, but it can be incredibly lonesome. It can be incredibly frustrating. So some of those shared experiences will definitely help support any growing global journey. Then on the first floor, we've got international inward investment. So businesses flying in to the UK, and they are getting all the support they need. And then there's that cross fertilization. And we then have a space place for students, international students, and helping them with internships, graduate placements, making it incredibly attractive to come and study and live here, but also integrate with the economy and socially as well. And then ABC is going to be developing a range of activities and programs and support from there. And then it's underpinned by investors and investment. So any business coming in, any business going out, any business that's growing they've got access to funding and support, whole range of support activities from gym access to boot camps, health, well-being, to learning languages. So an Arabic tutor, mindfulness. So really looking at the whole concept of if you're an entrepreneur, how do you get all of the support? Because a healthy mind, a healthy body naturally helps a healthy and hopefully wealthy business is what it does. So I've been tied up with that. I've been to a few other additional spaces and places. Just seems to be crazy. Went down to Tees Valley as well. And there's so much going on there for our second part of our International Trade Centre, our International Space Station opening at Tees Valley. Teesside Airport is the next plan. So we're already looking at that and connecting the Northeast and the Newcastle based International Trade Centre with Tees Valley and the free port that we have there. So, anyway, coming back to the news and some views and some one or two clues, let's just share this screen here. And as I've mentioned, sadly, you cannot see Jalf, but he'll be joining shortly. And so what's on the news? Well, employers' costs is a big thing. And I don't know if anybody's realized this. I'm sure they have. But anyway, we're sharing it with you as well. So employers' costs for low-paid staff to jump by over £2,000 per employee from April 2025. So as business is getting harder, the issue and the challenge that employers across the board, and when they're low-paid staff, we're talking about minimum national living wage or minimum wage. Well, companies employing staff, and it's brilliant to have Jalf here. So, good morning, Jalf.
Good morning, Ammar.
Assalamu alaikum and Ramzan Mubarak ho to you on this wonderful, auspicious Juma. So, welcome.
Good morning. How you been?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I was just saying it's been crazy busy with the International Space Station, just trying to get that set up, and felt a bit like an estate agent showing people around and doing the sort of, the whole look at what we're doing and isn't it great? And everyone's like super excited and everyone's like, I want to be here. It's beautiful. It's the best place and get involved and then just recruiting and things like that. But I was just sharing this news story, Jalf. And Mark Patton's joining us as well, so there's always a good chat there. And then we're not going to be home for tea, are we? Because we're going to Wembley.
Yeah. What day are you going, Ammar?
Tomorrow?
Just driving down there?
No. It's just turned so complex. So for everyone's benefit, Newcastle United are in the Carabao Cup final in Wembley on Sunday, and they're going to beat Liverpool. And it's just been an incredibly traumatic experience. I mean, this morning I was changing things, Jalf. It's so we're getting a lift. So I'm going down with my son, and we're getting a lift tomorrow. We're leaving Newcastle to get to York because there's no trains from Newcastle to York. Actually, is there?
Yeah, I heard that the trains are leaving from Sunderland, Ammar. Well, I'm not too sure. Which is a bit crazy because you can't have a whole load of Newcastle fans travelling down to Sunderland to get onto the train. But I'm not really too sure. I've heard mixed reports. But
how are you getting there?
I'm actually driving down Saturday after iftar on tomorrow, so I'll be leaving around about 6:30 ish.
Right.
But I'm
Um,
driving down in a van.
you're driving down what?
I'm driving down in a van because
In a van.
yeah, because my brother's moving houses, so I'm gonna take some stuff down for him. So that's gonna be
Right.
fun.
Right. That's
But
exciting.
everyone's making their own way in everyone's going in different ways. So I had one of the delivery drivers um in the restaurant last week from a drinks company, and he was like, "Yeah, well, I've got it all sorted, mate. I'm gonna get the train down on a Saturday. I'm leaving about 1 o'clock ish. I'm gonna
Mm.
stay Saturday. I'm gonna stay Sunday. I'm gonna come back on Monday. I've got the hotel booked. It was quite expensive, couple of nights. Sunday was cheaper than the Saturday, and so I'm all set. All I need now is a ticket."
No. No, funny, brilliant. Uh,
Yeah. So so yeah, I think everyone's got their own story. Everyone's got their own journey. But either way, we'll be there in force come 4:30 at the kickoff. Um, and hopefully we really make an incredible atmosphere which makes a difference, because last time we were there, whilst the atmosphere was decent, I don't think it was the best ever. We need to create an atmosphere for the PSG stroke Arsenal match. I
mm.
think that lifts the boys and really gets them up, so we'll just have to see how the fans react, and hopefully your War Flags and Seller, they're gonna really help towards creating a spectacle for us.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm just so the challenge is I must have spent like a couple of days trying to arrange travel and things like that. So our brother-in-law's driving down to York, but his train's at 10 something. Our my original train from York was 2 something, so I changed that to 12, the earliest one that I could get, which was 12 something, right? So we've got to get to his house in the morning. He's driving us to York. We're getting the train, and I've already changed it. We're staying over, and we're staying at St. Pancras. And then on the way back, because there weren't any trains, I'd booked a hotel at York, so you could get a train. I'm still on the 8 o'clock train from York, and from London King's Cross to York, and I'd booked a hotel so we
Well,
could
on
get
on what day? On the Saturday?
on the Sunday.
On
On
the
the Sunday.
Sunday? 8 o'clock in the morning?
No, 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 8 o'clock at night.
On Sunday? All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So, so at the minute, I go down on Saturday, right? And that's changed. And I'm just looking now because actually, I think I could get a train, so I don't need to get up. And I think there's a train available, and it might be the same train that takes us from York to London. So if that's the case, I'd rather just get that.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to have a look at that in a minute. But
Mm.
I've then we were coming back to York, and I looked, and we were getting in. I think the train from London 8 o'clock was getting into York at just at 10 o'clock or whatever it is, because it's only a couple of hours.
Mm.
And then I was staying at York, but getting up at 5:30, 6 to bring my son back to Newcastle so he could get to school, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's why I was doing that. And then I've looked at it and I've gone, well, actually, the trains are running, because when I booked it, the trains weren't running, but
Yeah.
there are trains now.
Yeah. So
So
they put more, have they?
sorry,
They've put more trains on.
yeah, they've put trains on. They just take a little bit longer. So now though, I can't. My train that terminates in York. So our 8 o'clock train terminates in York, and the um and there's a bus service that could bring us to Newcastle, and it gets in at like 10 to 1. Or there's the 9 o'clock train from London King's Cross, which I can't get a ticket on, which is actually, in hindsight, is the one that I wanted, but there's no space. But I'm on the 9 o'clock train from London, but from York. So I'm now going to be sat at York for an hour, waiting for that train, which gets us in the same time as the bus. So I could just get on the bus and just sort of go, at least I'm traveling, or I wait and go wait for an hour. And anyway, it's all just like I just and then I realized actually I could have just got the train down on the Sunday morning and got the train back the same day is
Mm.
what I could have done instead of all of this carry on. Um, anyway, it's not. So you're going down
I'm going to
tomorrow
Saturday, and then I'm gonna staying at a hotel Saturday, Sunday. I'm actually gonna stay there for an extra day, and I'm gonna come back on a Tuesday.
right?
Uh,
Okay.
but if you get stuck, there is you could get in touch with Ashraf because there's three of them going down and three of them coming back. Most
When do
likely
they come back?
they'll most likely come back after the match. I would have thought.
On Sunday.
Yeah, because I think yeah, my sisters are going with him, and they're gonna have to be
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, we can have that conversation off air, and then you can.
Yeah, no, no, no. Let's do that. Because actually, I mean, that would be the best thing to do, wouldn't it? As in, because it then means, thank you, Jamie. Um, it just means then um, that we're back. I mean, it might be the same time, but it might be a little bit earlier, mightn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you would have all that stress and staying in hotels in York and
Well,
going.
no, I've cancelled. So
Yeah,
all I was saying is I've cancelled the hotel now
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'd rather be back home,
yeah,
even if it's at 1 a.m. in the morning. I'd
yeah,
rather be back home, and then that way, at least if I'm back home, I can then like our son can go to school.
yeah,
I'll get up. I'm really busy on Monday morning.
yeah.
Um, yeah. It's funny though how many of his friends are staying off school. I was like horrified, and my wife and I were horrified at that.
Well, I think it depends. If there's a victory, I think there could
There
be.
should be a national holiday.
Yeah, yeah, there should be a local holiday for sure.
Yeah.
And I think there will be without even people making it official. But I would have thought that would be the case because I think if you imagine, Amar, I've said to my teams, if there is any type of victory, and we like dreaming of a victory, all of the street that you live on, just wait to see what happens at 6:30,
Mm,
because everybody was going to be out on the streets just with sheer joy. The horns are going to be honking.
yeah.
The scarves are going to be out. They're going to be driving around city centre. They're going to be going up to St James's Park, anywhere just to be a part of that experience, that incredible memory. And I think the restaurants, bars, everyone's
Mm.
just going to be out to celebrate long into the night. So, and there's no way those people are going to get back into work on Monday morning. They're all going to be pulling a sickie, and I think there would be acceptance from all employers.
Oh no, I mean, at the end of the day, look, if we get stuck in London, which has the potential to get stuck in London, right? And um and consequently there is an issue, then it is what it is, as in, I mean, stillily, and that's a great word, isn't it? I've I um had booked the 8 p.m. train, thinking that that should give us enough time to get back from Wembley to King's Cross.
Mm.
It should, shouldn't it?
Well, it depends. It's a half-hour kickoff. If it goes into extra time penalties, then it's not.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be half four. Match finishes at half four. Well, 6:30. Then you're going
Mm.
to half an hour, which takes you up to 7. But then let's say 7:15, because by the time you got extra time, added time on A, B, C, and D. Then if you got penalties, which would be another 30, 40 minutes,
Mm.
uh, you're talking definitely you're still going to be at Wembley by 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock
Really?
wouldn't have been right. No, if just in case it goes to extra time and penalties, 9 o'clock would be just about there or thereabouts, but then you got to appreciate that you've got 100,000 people leaving Wembley,
Yeah.
and you might get stuck unless you leave a few minutes early, which you wouldn't really want to do, because if Newcastle somehow win, then you've got to watch them lift the cup and all of that.
Oh no, you've got to do all
Can't,
of that
can't
without a
leave
doubt.
without seeing that, because that's the whole part of the memory. So
Uh,
I don't think 8 o'clock is, even 9 o'clock is going to be a bit of a push.
mm.
It's
All
probably
right. Well,
doable.
I need to have that off-air conversation then, don't I?
Yeah.
And because it's like I've changed my train tickets 3 times already, is what I have. And I know I've got a seat from York back to Newcastle. I just might be stood on a train, is what the option might be. Because the 9 o'clock, going back to that point, the 9 o'clock train um, is the one that's running all the way through to Newcastle, is what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
I think 9 o'clock is just about doable. If it's extra time penalties and a win, then a nine
yeah,
o'clock could be tight.
yeah. And then everyone who's missed the 9 o'clock will be then.
Well, yeah, it should be all right, but it's just it takes time. By the time they go up, pick up the trophies, then they come back down and they do the pictures, and you just don't want to leave in that situation.
Yeah, of course you don't. Of course you don't. Anyway, I'll be having that offline conversation then, Warner, is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'll be doing. So, oh, brilliant. Excellent. Anyway, coming back to more sadder news, is I was talking about employer costs, Jeff,
Oh,
um, and employers' costs for low paid staff to jump by over £2,000 per employee from next month.
yeah,
So companies employing staff on national living wage or minimum wage are braced for cost increases exceeding £2,100 per employee, according to leading tax, audit, and business advisory firm. The surge follows simultaneous hikes in the national living wage, national insurance contributions. Um, so it's like the actual cost of it all is like crazy. So large firms with substantial numbers of lower paid casual employees, particularly in retail, hospitality, and transport, are likely to feel the biggest squeeze. Smaller businesses, however, receive a partial cushion via the employer's national insurance employment allowance, which will double from 5,000 to 10,500. While that mitigates some national insurance increases for small businesses, they still must meet the same minimum wage requirements as larger employers. It's crazy.
it's. I was looking at this. Is one of the costs if you're between 18 and 20, I think it's
Mm.
gone up by 16.8%.
16.8%.
Yeah, it's gone up from whatever to £10 an hour. Now, if you look at the government when they are having when there's strikes, and then there's, like, I think there was, I don't know, the nurses or the doctors or someone was taking, they were going on strike and they were negotiating a pay rise, and then they come to a settlement of a 0.5% increase, a 1% increase as a settlement figure. But then on the other hand, they then go and put up a minimum wage up by 16.8% in one of the categories, and another one's by almost 9%. I mean, it's absolutely scandalous. And
Mm.
then I mean, we're looking at things. We're facing massive labor cost increases at a moment and at a time when the economy is slumping, where we can see across the board the businesses are not as busy or not as booming because the economy is really, really flat. Count that. Put on top of that, put all the utility cost increases in there into the mix. A flat economy,
Mm.
spiraling labor costs. Um, any given opportunity, um, there's always, so last week the chicken supply was that, well, there's a bird flu in particular countries around the Europe, and when they say something like that, what's connected to that is another price increase for some reason because of the shortage of demand. It increases the supply. There's obviously demand and supply. So then you put all of those in together and you think, oh my God, what on earth is gonna, how businesses are gonna be able to absorb all of these costs? It's just, I really don't know until you get through into April and see where you are later on, a few months down the line, to feel the real impact on the business.
Yeah, it's just hard, as in it is incredibly challenging. Um, and I don't know what to say. Um, I mean, what can we do?
Well, it's not. It's just trying to understand why the government have taken this position. I mean, every single corner you turn, they've just changed over the years. They've just changed every little thing to take every little thing off every business in every single sector, and everyone is complaining, whether it be hospitality or whether you be in property. I mean, property development. I'm sure it's absolutely stalled because the developers, when the developments don't stack up because they can't make any money at the end of it. When you look at the development and you're gonna, you're gonna change a planning permission and you're gonna create A, B, C, and D. They then look at it and think that no, there's no point because I'm not making any money. So I think, I mean, what on earth what on earth are they looking to do by stagnating the economy? It's just it's frightening. It's you really don't know what their actual real plans are because surely they must have a plan that they haven't told the public about on, yeah, we want to achieve this, but we really don't know what that is. So yeah, I think I'm a bit disappointed, Amar, with the organizations that are supposed to represent small businesses or businesses, because I've not heard them come out to tackle um, government and make statements about how horrendous this is. Why is it little businesses like ourselves that are making these points and that can see what's going on and see how difficult it's going to be? But where are our representatives in the industry to come out and, I've not heard any statements out there. I've heard people like Santander saying that, yeah, we're actually seriously looking to get out of the UK and stuff like that.
Mm.
But that's not a good solution, is it, for the country?
Oh, it's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, so it's a good question. Honest answer is um, we will continue to, AB Connections will continue to lobby and do what it can, and raise these concerns and issues. Fact is, they're happening. So the real sad state of affairs is inflation's gone up, costs are going up, opportunities are going down. There's less investment happening, and it's actually employ and entrepreneurs and business owners are the ones who are truly feeling the squeeze. And the number of them that I'm talking to are sort of going, I'd rather be out of here, or I'd rather just close my business down and not what's the point? And there are a number of times when I've thought, okay, with my properties or whatever it is, I'm sat there thinking, this has become so painful. I'm
Yeah.
not making any. I'm just, I'm paying other people to keep them in a job.
Mm.
I'm not making any money from it.
Yeah, of course. And everyone's saying the same thing. Whether you go see your local chiropodist or whether it's a supplier. I mean, the duties and stuff have gone up so much for like drinks and stuff. They've even like changed things so much detail in that if you got an alcohol volume of X amount, you're gonna pay more, and if it's X amount, you're gonna pay more, and it's like unbelievable.
It's crazy. It is crazy. So, I mean, there's a lot of doom and gloom. So, what could you do? What should you do? Well, let's let's celebrate
Well, let's. I think
celebrate a win on the weekend.
yeah,
And why should businesses or why should you attend the ABC Awards? So the awards just get bigger and better and more impactful every single year. We're delighted to have RBC, Brew and Dolphin as our headline sponsors. And why should you attend? And it isn't just about celebrating success. It's a strategic move for businesses looking to grow, connect, and make an impact. And here's why securing a spot, your spot, at the Northeast most inclusive, celebrate Northeast celebration, as we're calling it. Well, what are the things? What are the benefits? Build powerful connections. ABC Awards bring together top business leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals from diverse industries. It's the perfect opportunity to network, collaborate, and create new opportunities for your business. Boost your brand and reputation. Being part of this event showcases your commitment to diversity, innovation, business excellence. Whether you're nominated, attending, or sponsoring, your brand's gains visibility among influential decision makers. Recognizing outstanding businesses and individuals, the awards shine a spotlight on innovation, resilience, and positive impact, and attending allows you to be inspired by success stories and apply key takeaways to your own business journey. Access to new markets and opportunities. With a mix of SMEs, large corporations, and investors in attendance, the event is a gateway to new partnerships and markets. Engaging with other attendees can open doors to collaboration that drive business growth. Support inclusion and business excellence. So save the date is more than an event. It's an experience that fuels business success. Whether you're looking to celebrate, connect, or create new opportunities, this is the place to be. And the tickets are on the website, Jeff.
amazing, amazing. I mean, God, it's been over the last what 18 years? Is it Ammar? 18 years? I can't even remember.
Yeah,
Gosh,
mad, isn't it?
it's gone from strength to strength over the years. But even the first ones were like brilliant as well.
The ones at the Beacon and
Yeah.
the ones at the
Very first
county.
Baltic.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
the Baltic was brilliant. We
Yeah.
had
We had we had Saeed Ahmed. We had that dancer, the Michael Jackson, the Indian traditional. I can't remember what his name was. He was the guy with the lipstick and all of that. Can you remember him?
yeah, that was it. Well, we've been ahead of our time, haven't we? We've always been ahead of the time. We've always been inclusive, whatever way, shape, fashion, or form. But yeah, I mean, it's come on. It's had its bumps, it's had its ups and downs, like any organization, but it's still here. It's still powering on. It's still making a difference. It's making an impact. Yeah, and it's exciting and it's going to be doing a lot more from the new center as well, delivering a lot more programs on diversity, inclusive innovation, bringing more communities together, supporting different types of communities and individuals, and hosting a lot more of the events at the event space. So it's yeah, it's exciting, and naturally it has its challenges. There's resource and people and funding and all of that. Um, I'm probably at the point where I don't want to keep putting my hand in my pocket, but it's a great organization, and if you need to sustain something, you do. You just commit to it and do what needs to happen. How's things in the city centre, Jeff? What's going on in town?
Um, I can't say that it's been that exciting in terms of. I think it's been very quiet this whole week, Ammar, and I think when I spoke to friends in leisure and hospitality, they've all said the same. Now I'm wondering, I'm trying to come up with a solution. They're asking me, well, why is it quiet? And I'm thinking, well, I don't have a crystal ball, but the only thing that I can think is, are people so geared? It's 50,000 people going to London, right? I mean, does that impact on the city? Of who it must impact them all on people that's left and who are going out and leisure and hospitality and stuff like that. So I could only pinpoint it to that, really, thinking that, well, maybe people are really gearing up towards a very big weekend and an expensive weekend for a lot of people, and maybe they're gonna not go out on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know, and they're just keeping their monies for the weekend. So, but otherwise, I think city centre might still the same. There's still big works around the Tyne Bridge, all of the things happening around Grey Street, Pilgrim Street. Still a big mess. Obviously, the former Odeon Cinema building. It's a lot of works going on there. So, but the biggest announcement, I think, was an announcement that came out yesterday about the brand new stadium for Newcastle United,
Mm.
which in Leazes Park, and I think so slap bang right in the heart of the city centre. Uh, probably 1.2 to a 1.5 billion pound stadium, state of the art, best stadium in the world, coming into Newcastle city centre. Imagine what that will do for the city. But that's 5 years down the line. But if they can get all of that sealed and locked down and begin the works, I think that would I think that just changes the city forever, because how many Newcastle is relatively a small city, but to have the best stadium in the world in Newcastle upon Tyne, it
Mm.
would be just an incredible story, and it'll bring so many people into the city, and every single person coming into the city, you would want to go and visit and do a stadium tour.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big announcement for the city, I guess. If there's any news I can give you, although it's quite far down the line, but it's still huge news.
Yeah, no, and you're right, and it is, and it's anything like that. I mean, we need to see more investments. It's interesting because a number of organisations and businesses, and the council and various others have all gone across to MIPIM, which is the World sort of Property Forum, and made some announcements, including 750,000 square foot cargo space at Newcastle Airport. Imran and Gainford Group have spoken about their new bridge development and the designs around that. Um, and there's a bit of a showcase of the Northeast and Newcastle and things like that. So, it's good to be able to talk those things. Fundamentally, it's how do they translate into action, and whether they turn into realizing that. If you think about it, Jeff, right, that even going back to the stadium, so all of a sudden the cost of that stadium's gone up 10%, hasn't it, because of the changes that the
Yeah,
government's making.
yeah, yeah. Of course, it's just crazy.
So for me, there should be a bit more of a consideration around sort of small businesses, so employers, and actually it's not just in small businesses, but SMEs. The actually, if I really think about this and think this through, we should be encouraging, we should be providing additional support to employers to invest. If you look at how many businesses have gone bust this year or the last 6 months, that's increased dramatically. How many businesses aren't taking on finance and loans and things like that? That's increased dramatically. There's a whole catalyst. And if businesses aren't investing or growing and actually are contracting, what does that mean? Well, people are spending less in the economy. There's less people with money. So you've got the challenges impacting businesses at this end, and then on the other end, you're seeing we're going to reduce people's benefits. We're going to reduce people who are able to claim this, this, and this. And you're like, well, what are you trying to do? Just make more people homeless.
Yeah.
Because
But
ultimately that's where it ends up, doesn't it?
Amar, it's I don't know. I think it begins to I can't fathom the reasons why they are taking this kind of position, the Chancellor. What on earth are they trying to do? Because everybody you speak to is complaining across the board, across the spectrum.
Mm,
Now, and they can't understand what's going on. But it then it then makes you wonder what the real reasoning is, because it's as though that um, the government's not working in the best interest of businesses, and its policies are not working in the best interest of the UK companies and the people of the UK and the businesses in the UK. And that's really worrying. And it goes back to the points that we've raised in the past. There's so many things going on. The world is always in turmoil, and the failure to sit and have harmonious international relations with, even if all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Russia seems to be the biggest enemy of Europe, a company in Europe with 75 trillion worth of resources, gas, cheap gas, and A, B, C, and D, and we just refuse to, um, sit and conclude or negotiate an end to a war, which then has an impact on all of our lives. We might not know it, but it does, because the cost that is the things that are increasing so much, and they have done over
mm.
the last 3 years, whether it be fertilizer costs going up and then that having an impact on chicken feed, and then that having an impact on the cost of purchases. Um, so increasing transport costs and everything, all because of the government's not wanting to sit down and negotiate and come to agreements and settlements and diplomatic settlements. So if they're going to have and then I don't know, will the government be even bothered about businesses shutting down and people leaving the country? I don't know how much they're going to be bothered about that.
No, but they have to be bothered about it because it reduces the whole um, rationale or apparent rationale is the need to fix the the economy, right? They need to fix the budgets. They need to fix the books, so to speak. So, the increase in national insurance, the increase in taxes, the increase in, all of these things that they were doing were never ever late policies. It's just extraordinary. And then they've introduced a whole range of and a raft of regulation from property to employment that further impact and increase costs for businesses, whether it's landlords, whether it's business owners, entrepreneurs relief, all of these benefits that made business a little bit attractive. It's just gone. So the rationale behind it is tax. We need to increase tax because there's all of these black holes. Our services, products aren't X, Y, Z. And then you think to yourself, well, it's really short sighted because the only thing that can happen in the first instance, because of the wider influences as well, including inflation, including costs of international impact, Brexit, we're still feeling the fallout from that, all of these things. All it does is create even perfect storms, is what it does. So the short sightedness of we're going to increase tax is actually going to lead to less tax. And even the calculations and computations that they used for, oh, we're going to generate billions, hundreds of millions of pounds from putting 10, 20% VAT on private school fees. All that's happened is more people have dropped out of private school
Mm.
and they've entered state school, increasing the costs there. and the initial projections that they thought are nowhere near what they are. The value and the benefit is horrific, right? So all of a sudden you've alienated. These are all politicians. So what do you think's going to happen in local elections? You know, there's already serious concern that some of the statistics in May show that currently, whoever is in power in places, um, one of the statistics last week was, if you could go back and vote, would you have voted for Labour?
Mm.
And about 70% responded no.
Mm. Yeah. Well, why would you? What reason is that to vote Labour? What reason is that? But the thing is, would Conservatives have done the same thing? Because
Well,
the thing is,
we don't know. We don't. I mean, the look. Our politics have now changed forever. Our politics have changed forever. We're going to get the same issues and challenges that Europe is experiencing, where you have a hung parliament, right? So that group will get that many votes, that group will get that many votes, that group will get that many votes, and no one has a majority because we've created a divisive and a divided state, and it started in politics. So it's really really concerning. So what could you do as a business owner? You need to think about, well, what is it that you can do here? So one of the things that you can do from a positive perspective is, rather than moving all of your operations abroad, you can come to the International Trade Centre at Newcastle Airport, right? And we'll have take your business globally, so you can make a lot more money elsewhere and bring it back here, pay even more tax on it, but at least you're making a little bit more money. Is the point, right?
I mean,
And because the sad state of the whole thing is I don't particularly want to move abroad. As in, I love this country. I've been born and brought up here. I'm here. But if I was forced to, it'd be a real shame, wouldn't it?
well, that's the whole tragedy of it all, Ammar. Now you're thinking something, and I've not had a conversation with you about this. And I know that I'm thinking about the same thing, and I know a lot of other people are thinking about the same thing. Because why? Let's say take Dubai for example,
Yeah.
a country it's flourishing.
Hmm.
The metros, the roads, the services, the hospitals. How are they then creating a country which is a proper first world country? But our country, we are officially first world country, pay the biggest taxes on the planet, and yet the services that those tax should be paying for to get a doctor's appointment, forget it. So what are we kind of gaining when you go to use public transport, when you go on underground or A, B, C, and D? It's so poor in comparison. You think that, well, isn't that not economic bad management, not just by this current government, but over the last 20 years, where things have just, I think if you have a look at it, whilst we're having a moan right now about the Labour government, but then
Oh no, I wasn't
uh,
mourning about just
uh,
the Labour government.
uh, uh, uh,
We are apolitical.
let's
We
say,
are apolitical. I'm
sorry,
not mourning about any governments.
let's say the current government. We haven't a moan about the current government, but the previous government were exactly the same in that they just kept on putting the taxes up and taxes up and taxes up, and the government before that and before that, before that and before that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, Jeff, because of the inefficiencies, right? Rather than fixing the broken state, right? Whether it's, I mean, gosh, Jeff, statistically, right, 10 years ago, NHS 22% of the overall budget. Now 46%. So 46% of our gross domestic produce or product, right? The money that the state makes, 46% of it goes to the NHS. And if you ask anybody, yes, there's some great people working in it, undoubtedly. And there's some brilliant innovation, care. But I mean, you can't get an appointment. You can't get, it's like if 46% of your budget was going on something that doesn't work, how can you continue working?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So actually, you can see, because you can criticize whatever you want, or you can observe or reflect, but you can see how if I was building this again, I wouldn't build it like this, and that's why Saudi, Dubai, whatever, it's a different type of mechanism. Now, one of the things, and it's really interesting because the announcements around NHS and things like that over the last couple of days have caused serious, like, oh my gosh, type of reactions, haven't they?
About closing down NHS something something. I don't know the dynamics of that. I thought it was a headline news, but I'm not. To be honest, I'm not that knowledgeable on exactly what that all means.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, he's saying that he's going to close down NHS England, isn't it? Is what he said.
What does it mean, that the NHS itself, or was it?
No. Basically, NHS England was established in 2013. We've only got 30 seconds. I mean, one of the things that I've been highlighting is there's 16,000 organisations in the NHS. Why can't you simplify it? They're closing down a particular part of it and then trying to make it more efficient, which makes sense because the challenge is there's just layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy. There's so much inefficiency. So hopefully I mean, it would never have been announced if there wasn't Trump in America, right? This is those type of reactions. So we've got 30 seconds to go, is what we have. So anyway, you're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
And we're going to Wembley.
Yeah.
Tell my mama that we are. And we're gonna win. Despite to the angst of my son, who's gonna have to sit on his hands, is what he is.
It's a monumental weekend for the whole city, man. So everyone get behind the club.
And the region. In the world.
Yeah, get out on.
Anyway, you're listening to Ammar and Jalf. We'll be back next week. Goodbye from me.
Bye.